we are today in the St Kilda area of Melbourne on Barclay Street, St Kilda, out the front of Studio 106. Studio 106 is an independent artist-run collective, which is a rare thing. Not many collectives left, running today. Studio 106 has been in operations for 23 years, since 1996, and is home to 20 resident artists currently. We're going to go and have a little talk to them about their art practices today. Let's go on up.
Hey, welcome to Studio 106.
Thank you, Ulysses.
Hi, my name is Ulysses Resendiz. I am an artist originally from Mexico. I live now in St Kilda, and I have my art studio here in Artist Studio 106, and I have been here for 6 years.
Hi, I'm Josie. I'm a visual artist. I have been practicing for about 20 years. I originally was an art teacher in high schools in Altona North Tech, I think, and Altona High School, and other various schools in Victoria.
Yeah, please, Anthony.
My name is Anthony Breslin and I live in St Kilda. I've been a professional artist for about 20 years, meaning it's been my living. I've been able to live off it and travel off it and everything. And what slowed me down a lot in the last few years is getting cancer, having leukemia, and I've got a disease that has crippled me and taken away most of my movement. So painting now really is just to helps keep me sane.
My name is Heidi Knöpfli. I'm originally from Switzerland, and I've been in Australia well over 35 years.
My name is Sebastian Steenson. I'm a visual artist, painter and drawing. I've been doing that for about 30 years or so. Since I was a boy, I've always been passionate about drawing and painting. I guess it's a way of a kid trying to understand the world around them. I've been a member of Studio 106 for 12 months now.
My name is Tamar Delev. I am one of the resident artists here at Studio 106. I originally was born in Israel. My family immigrated to Melbourne about 30 or so years ago. I live around the St Kilda area. I first discovered art, well, probably when I was born, but when I was little, I was watching my grandma. She's an artist as well and an eccentric hairdresser. I was watching her paint sort of floral scenes and landscapes and stuff. I was watching her, like what paintbrushes she uses and what type of paint, and so I was really fascinated by that. And
My name is Maria Leonard, and I'm an artist in St Kilda for the last 40 years. And I'm originally from Germany, but I've been here 50 years, so I feel Australian. And I love being here.
Hi, my name's Katrina Mathers. I'm a filmmaker a creative person really, and I've been at 106 for about 8 years, I think. I write, I draw, I act, I make films, sometimes I produce, sometimes I direct. I've worked in animation, television, comedy, drama, online, big budget, small budget. Just a lot of stuff.
My name is Helen Grease. I live in East Brighton and I'm a member of Studio 106 in Buckley Street, St Kilda. And I've been here for a period of, I think, 15 years, which is a long time. So it's like a family. People come, people go, and it's great. And we share a lot of things. Our work is all different, and I'm a bit of a phantom painter. I don't come in as often as I should, but I do a lot of photography, I do a lot of drawing, painting, and it's a home away from home.
My name is Josephine Richards. I've been here for probably about a year or more. I also work in a toy shop, and I initially started coming here because I wanted to make kids cards for selling in the shop, in the toy shop. So every time someone buys a present, they'll buy one of my cards. I started out as a photographer. Oh, well, I always drew right from an early age, and went to Box Hill TAFE and studied art and design in Year 12, and did a Bachelor of Fine Arts, majoring in photography and media.
Hey, my name's Cindy Rodriguez, and I am a studio artist here at 106 Art in Berkeley Street. I'm also the administrator for the studio space. So yeah, I just make sure that, you know, all the bills are paid and everyone's happy, and in the process also working on a stop motion animation with my partner Stuart Gallagher.
Good of you to come in. I'm Ivan's son, and I'm an artist here at Studio 106. So this is my second year here. I've been here for a year and a half. I found out about the studio when I was looking through my Facebook feed, and I found an exhibition for Bauhaus-inspired art. So because I love Bauhaus art, that is what brought me to the studio. Currently, I'm working on a series of oil paintings on the theme of Australian orchids, with a bit of a naughty touch there. So I feel that Australian flora, in particular orchids, are not that well known, and we have most unusual specimens in Australia, and which are really quite photogenic and have quite different entendres and other meanings. As a digital artist for, I would say, about 6-7 years before I came in, I felt that I was growing more in love with the practice of art, the use of art and visually to express my ideas. But part of me didn't feel that what I was doing was really art. So there was a desire in me to push the boundaries, to be an artist, to explore traditional mediums. So this painting is called the Zuckerbot. So this is part of a series of paintings that I worked on for a robot-themed exhibition in June of 2019. It's Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, and I'm reimagining him as a part robot, part human.
How long have you been an artist for?
In Australia I every time working, but a lot of art I'm selling too for exhibition. I make exhibition, a lot of exhibitions.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been in Australia, Ruth? You're originally from Russia?
30 years.
Wow.
Now, but look, before I have studio, 300 square meters. Now too very big. Look.
And you've got a lot of stuff in here. A lot of sculptures and amazing works.
Yeah. Don't worry, be happy.
My name is Alex Nemirovsky, yes.
Alex, I understand that you're here today and you have been here because unfortunately your father passed away and you're cleaning out, you've got the task of cleaning out his studio, and you've actually done quite a lot already, haven't you?
Well, the stuff was been moved, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we still got heaps to do. He was very creative, you know.
So you had a kind of special relationship with Ruth in a way because you're both artists.
Yes, of course. It was a long relationship, and he's not only father, he's best mate, you know, artist. And his opinion, we were just sharing our thoughts, giving ideas to each other, and it was very inspirational.
Can you tell me about a memory that you have of him when you were younger and him teaching you about painting or drawing or artworks or sculptures? Because I understand that he was a sculptor in Russia.
Yes, absolutely. I grew up in sculptor studio, and he was my first teacher. So that was a great sort of opportunity to be in the studio since I was so young, and being a boy, you know, started very young, you know. So I would say he was my first teacher of art, first of all, yeah. So.
And do you have any particular memories? Any one time that sticks in your mind?
Just many great memories, you know. I guess the biggest expression was when he started taking me to his big commissions, like big statues to help, and I was feeling myself, you know, so proud to be there, you know. So helping with such a big commissions, being a boy, it was just a great thing to experience, I believe. You know. So, for example, this is a part of the statue. Yeah, it's a legendary heroes of former USSR, Uzbekistan, particularly the place. So he've done some. This is legend. They're legends, you know. The legend. This statue is 60 meters high, you know, still standing there. So it's like probably similar to Statue of Liberty for America or something for those people. And
so whereabouts is this, Alex?
It's you know, the city of Tashkent. So it's a capital of. It's a former USSR anyway. It was all USSR at that times, but it's Asian side of USSR. So it's a big part of former USSR.
I've travelled from doing naturalistic work or traditional work when I was a student, and I've developed collage work. Love working with paper, looking through magazines, and which is quite hard to do, to find the right piece of work or font. I've recently become very involved with Bauhaus. Now I'm interested in that because there were so many women artists that enrolled in the Bauhaus in 1919 when it first started in Germany. I mean, there were a lot of males there as well, but the males there wanted to have more females. Sorry about the gender thing, but the place was swamped by women, which was great. But mostly the men did control what the women should be doing, so they were sort of shunted into the weaving, you know, sort of crafty work. But there were a few that rebelled against that and started doing photography and architecture. So anyway, I was influenced by that, and we did a workshop, I think it was last year. So I developed my own Bauhaus style work, that one, which is using collage. And here's another one, again playing with tissue paper, printed collages, and I have put a few layers of varnish over that one. This is where I've used those slats that I was talking about before. So there's quite a few there, plus there's some collage, plus a small little wooden square there, and a number.
And can you tell me, when I first came to visit you, you told me about these shoes and what they meant in the Bauhaus. Right. I'd love to hear that story again, please.
Well, originally, I did an exhibition on...
Can you pull them down, honey?
Yeah. Hang on. Originally, I did an exhibition on censorship of literature, books, etc., etc. The one that comes to mind is Salman Rushdie, plus D.H. Lawrence, plus even the Diary of Anne Frank was censored for a while. So I had a friend do the moulds for these. They're all made from paper, and I call them Anne Frank shoes. It's got nails in the back, or sort of, but they can be interpreted in any way. They could be, you know, Otti Berger, who was gassed in Dachau, could be her shoes. I mean, there's shoes that have a lot of pain in them and suffering.
I can see you've got this little guy down here. Could you tell us a little bit more about him? Could you bring him up on your left?
Yeah. Yeah, this is...
What's his name?
Oh, it's just a baby magpie. This baby magpie came up with because I did an art show about magpies, the birds, and it was like, why he didn't do the film here in Australia? The magpies are awesome, and I've been attacked by magpies a couple times, so I was like, wow, I love this. I actually felt that horror when I was riding my bicycle and running, and I was so scared, and you feel the fear. But then at the end, it was so funny because it's like, this is a so small bird, and I was laughing, and I was like, oh, that's what I want to paint. I want to paint something that makes you feel scared, but also you can laugh about it.
Well, my passion with my artwork, which is informed originally by sculpture, architecture, sculpture, and mark making. And in the last few years, I've now been really passionate about painting. My practice is where a warm-up I do often is I like smooth surface, so magazines, fashion magazines. I just sort of come in and sort of play with paint and do that very gesture as sort of a warm-up kind of thing.
I used to do about 6 or 7 solo shows a year and have the shows overseas and everything, but I just can't manage that kind of career now anymore because of my health problems.
Can you tell me a little bit about those shows?
Well, I've had shows in Hong Kong, like solo shows in Hong Kong, Prague, Barcelona, Switzerland. I've been in shows in New York, in London, I've had a solo show in Ireland. So I've had a lot of international shows.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
I've been very fortunate to have 2 books of mine published so far. The first book was a hardcover book of my artwork and my poetry, and the second book was a children's book. And now I'm working on 2 more books at the moment. One's an environmental book I'm working on with the school strike movement, the youth of Australia's movement towards trying to create or aid the environment here. And the other book is kind of stories from my life.
So can you tell me, Anthony, a little bit about this beautiful painting that you're doing here?
Well, this one over here, this one here is nearly finished. It just needs a few more dots, and then it needs a bit of glazing over all the area that's protruding. This one's finished. I just finished it a couple of days ago. Yeah, it's just kind of an exploration in a theatrical kind of happening. I mean, a lot of my work is influenced by plant medicine psychedelics as well. So, you know, because I've had a lot of experiences altering my consciousness through using plant medicines to have psychedelic experiences. Well, I've done a lot of slashing of paintings. If I don't like something, I'll cut it up and reuse good parts in it. But, you know, my artwork was much more physical before I got sick. You know, I would be crawling around the studio floor with paint all over me making paintings. And also, I make a lot of paintings that aren't like this, where they're giant kind of heads, with all this kind of movement in them. Where this one's a lot more, you know, static in the way I make it.
There's this scene in a movie called Gods and Monsters, which is about the director James Whale, who directed the first Frankenstein movie in the 1936, I think. And he's telling someone about his childhood, how being an artist in a working class family in England was an odd thing. He was the odd one out in his family. And he described himself as being like a fucking giraffe in the family, that his family didn't know what to do with him. And that sort of stuck with me. My family has no artists in it, but that idea of that strangeness, which I think a lot of artists feel generally with what we do.
I painted this for the Doug Moran Portrait Prize. It's my entry, and I had the good fortune of meeting Michael Leunig. He's the cartoonist who sort of does cartoons for The Age. I've been at Studio 106 for about 12 years or so, I think about 12 years. So, yeah, it's like an extended family, and there's been sort of talks of it closing, actually. So it's quite sad and it's a bit hard to come to terms with, but, you know, the area's quite popular, so often the first things that goes are the studios.
I have been working on this animation for God knows how long, 10 years, like more so. We've had this idea in development for a very long time. And it's about a young girl who takes off to investigate climate change.
Tell us, Cindy, what the name of your project is.
Yeah, so it's Cinderlay, and basically It's she's our little lead character. She's 7 years old and she's been watching a documentary, a David Attenborough documentary, and she sees a little cub polar bear and her name's Cinderlay, and she's determined to go and save the little cub polar bear. So she adopts the name Cinderlay. Her original actual name is Annie. And we moved to St Kilda in about 2017, and I think we needed a studio.
I understand that you're the one that pays all the bills.
Yeah. So probably a couple of years ago, Elena, who was also the administrator, invited me to co-share the job with her. She's since left, but I've been, basically there's an administrator and then there's a group of counsellors who've been here, or a committee who've been here for a lot longer than me. Yeah, it's been a really positive experience.
And so I understand, though, that from about the middle of this year, and while I was making this film, it became apparent that the building's up for redevelopment.
Yeah, so
how do you feel about that?
From about, I think from the beginning of this year, we got the official notice that the building's going to be demolished and made into apartments. And of course, everyone was just like, we're losing our art home. Where are we going to go, kind of thing. Yeah, it is sad. It's sad that these we continue to get pushed out, basically. A space like this, that then we can no longer afford the rent, again forces people to go back into their own rooms, kitchen benches at home, and work in isolation, which is a real shame because the whole idea of things like this is the collaboration aspect of it, and something like this St Kilda Pier would not have happened without me collaborating with the artists here. And yeah, I think it's a real shame for the community at large.
Do you have a story related to your, how you first found out that you wanted to be a filmmaker, for example? Could you tell us about that?
So a lot of my career choices or things that I work on are kind of fairly organic. But I'm one of those diary keepers. I started writing a diary when I was about 11, I think. And when I was in my sort of early 30s, I went back and read them all, which was horrendous. But I noticed when I was about 13 or 14, I said, I want to be a filmmaker. And I had no idea, actually, when I got to my 30s, that I had written that I had thought that. But I think it was about the time that I'd seen Peter Weir's Witness, and I was so blown away with it. And my grandma said to me something like, he was a Geelong boy. And it just blew my mind that someone from Melbourne, or whatever, could be out there making films that I'm watching on the telly. So long story short, when I had my daughter, we were in quite a small apartment in St Kilda, and I just needed to get out of the house. And I heard about a studio that came up here, and I thought, well, I'm not really an artist. I'm not really an artist I don't do a lot of drawing. I don't try and sell my work or exhibit or anything like that. But I kind of thought, maybe I could get away with it and get one of these artist studios. And I came down and met Josie and Maria, two of the other artists here. And they said, what do you draw? Do you draw or you paint? And I kind of lied and said, I draw. And I showed them all my school artwork.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about all these exciting
I'll tell you about
awards that you have here. Can you pull out the Sydney Film Festival one for us?
Yeah. These awards. This is how cool is this? How cool is this as an award? Ooh. Now this one.
I'd like to use that for something else.
I know. How cool is that as an award? So that's the Sydney Film Festival. I can't take claim for that 100% on my own. That was for a film called Nullarbor, which was made collaboratively with some very talented people that I used to run a business with called the Lampshade Collective, which was directed by Alistair Lockhart and Patrick Sarrell and produced by a bunch of us. And so we sort of divvied up the awards because we won so many, which is awesome. But yeah, I've got that one.
Where do you see yourself going when 106 closes?
No idea. I really tossed and turned. What am I going to do when the studio closes? It's like a family. It'll really be an awful time because we really help each other, and I don't know, it's a real family. So it'd be sad to see us disperse. It's already happening a little bit. You know, in an ideal world, we'd have somebody say, here's a space, we'll help you put some partitions up and the whole box and dice, you can just move to the next location and it'll be really close to where we are now and it'll be just as cheap and just as cheerful. Huzzah! But I don't think that'll happen. From what I understand, this place was actually established with the idea that it should always house artists. So whoever it was that leased it or bought it, I think, gave it over to a group of artists and said, you can have this for as long as I'm alive, so long as it's used for art. You just have to find the artists. And that's kind of how the place was built. And it's so wonderful to think that that could happen. It's so annoying that it's just going to turn into more apartments.
Well, the inspiration came actually from Time magazine. And it happened after 9/11, and there were a lot of photographs about, and the bottom part of this here is from a 9/11 photograph, where all the debris was lying, the car tires, and, you know, God knows what. And that inspired me. That was the first part what inspired me. And the top part was about the war in Iraq or Iran. Anyway, and it had, you know, I want to say what I want to say at the end. Anyway, I got very, as an artist, it's sort of your role to represent for me anyway what's happening now. So what followed these was a real series, maybe 5 years, where I did war paintings. And then, of course, what I thought, is there, you have destruction, you have disorder and order. So I was looking for a pattern. Is there a sign of having order in the disorder? I mean, the plans of God or whoever you want to see, or spiritual being, whatever you want to talk about, we don't know and we can't see. But I found a kind of order through my paintings, and I could put it into order. All an artist really needs is a space with 4 walls, and you can put down your work and you can leave it. You lock the door, you go home, you come back the next day, and you can continue. You know, it doesn't work if you don't have a studio. I think people try.
So could you tell me a little bit more about what this place means to you?
Yeah, Studio 106 really became my second home, and so it did for a lot of artists. And after about 5 years, the original people who started it left, and I was alone here with 2 other artists. And we said, what are we going to do now? And we were fortunate, a woman at the Elwood Council stepped in and said, we will help you. Her name is Deb Casey. And she took over the financial side. And we put a big ad in the local paper. And within 2 weeks, we were full and running again. So, and I became sort of the administrator together with my friend Josie Wadelton. And we were all volunteers. We were not paid. We just did it, you know, because we loved the place and we want to keep it going. So it means a lot to us. And you see, artists often work in isolation. You don't have that here. You can shut your door if you want peace and quiet, but if you want to talk to somebody and look at their art and you can say, what do you think of this? It is a huge help. And then we have twice a year a group show, and it's a big party, you know. So.
You're making me cry.
Oh, really? So it's hugely important to all of us, and I hope we're now looking at maybe having to leave next year and finding a new place, and we really need some help.
And so, where do you see yourself going? Have you organised a place?
No, I live in a small 2-bedroom flat. I've got a lot of paintings there stored, but as you can see, I'm storing a lot of work here. It just wouldn't fit in a flat. I just really need a studio, and hopefully at a decent price. A lot of us are pensioners or, have some kind of income. I do a bit of cleaning and, just to keep it going. So I don't know. It's an uncertainty. Where will we go next year? We don't know. Most of us don't know.